My name's Cynthia. Welcome. Is there anyone new here tonight? Hi, special welcome to you. So, and you too. So basically we just have a series of Monday night presenters. I always under misapprehension that my voice is so loud, like my mother's, it can just go through walls. So basically we have a Geshe program on Tuesday, Wednesday nights where the Tibetan lamas, monks, they teach with a translator, they speak in Tibetan, and then on Mondays we speak in English, Western students, and we give our angle and our perspective of our experiences of the Buddhist path. And we just try to pass that on. It's not really teaching as such, it's a presentation, and see how we go. Now, so this month we've been looking at the issues around anger and how to deal with it. Now, I'm going to need the glasses. Gee, I really am sorry, I thought I had time. Okay. So yeah, anger and how to deal with it. So that's a strong one, I think, because we've all experienced anger when we're angry at someone else and when someone's angry at us. So we've been looking at a few strategies, and actually, before I start on the karma and the emptiness, another quote that I read: "If another person can easily anger you, it's because you are off balance with yourself." So I thought that was really interesting. So we've got to do the work. I mean, it's a bit unfair that they don't have to do the work, but then really you feel compassion for them because they're overwhelmed and overpowered by their mental delusions and their issues. So, okay. So tonight I'll talk a bit about karma and emptiness. They're two very deep Buddhist concepts and they're very challenging. And we really need a month to look at this, so we'll just touch on them tonight. But they are worth considering and looking into further. And that it changes the way we think about anger, which I think is really important. So karma. Understanding karma can help put our anger into perspective. So karma says our past actions have contributed to what is happening to us now. What goes around comes around. So karma is cause and effect. Every action or thought has a consequence. And we sort of get that just even in this life. And so Geshe Doga says not to be, and Geshe Doga, for the people that are new, he's one of the resident lamas here. He's worth coming to here on a Tuesday night just because he's come from Tibet, so it's a different experience altogether. So he says not to be angry at things happening to you, as they have resulted from the ripening of your own past actions. So he says there's no one else to be angry with. So basically, you've created the problem, not them. Whether it was in this life or a previous life, and it's playing out now. It's not an isolated incident. And we sort of can get this, for example, at work. If someone at work yells at you and you get upset, you get angry, but this situation might have been brewing ever since you criticised them publicly at a meeting a while back. So there's been a negative action from you in the past and now they're getting you back and you're angry, but is it completely their fault? So the answer to the question, why is that person doing this to me, is that you've hurt them in the past, even in a past life. And so that's really a difficult one because it's like bad things happen to good people or good things happen to bad people. But the theory is your life, not just this life, but further back in past lives. Your actions have consequences from way back. But even if you just think of it in this life, what goes around comes around. So you've got to break that cycle. And we've talked about the anger cycle. You can spiral downwards, or you can try to reframe or replace that anger with something else. Look at the sky, blue sky, or something like that, right? And try to replace that anger with something else and go up. So you've got to break that cycle. by not being angry in return, easier said than done, not provoking the person, and I think most of us have probably done that. We know how to niggle and just keep provoking. We've got to be the bigger person, because I think in the first talk I was talking about the consequences of anger, and try not to perpetuate the whole cycle of anger. So Lama Yeshe, he's one of the founders of this Buddhist place, he says, with actions born of anger, you leave an imprint in your mind to be angry again. And that makes sense. It's like you're more familiar with being angry. If you're angry all the time, you sort of get it. And so sometimes it can be even comfortable because you know what to do, you know what to say. All right? So it's easy to be angry again if you're familiar with it. So you don't want to be familiar with it. You want to familiarise your mind with other things, and that's why we meditate, to familiarise our mind with positive things. So basically, imprints manifest and they actualise. So you want them to be positive imprints, and how do you get the positive imprints? You get the positive imprints from positive actions. You sow what you reap. You reap what you sow. You plant a broccoli seed, you get a broccoli. Right? Okay. So that's why anger causes us suffering, because we create a pattern for that to repeat. The effects from anger carry on into the future. And you know this yourself. We see the consequences in our lives. And we see the consequences in this life. And it's not a stretch to see the consequences also move through future lives. But on the other side of the coin, the karmic seed left in our mind from doing positive actions is the cause of happiness in the future. So that's also a motivation not to succumb to angry behaviour. Because you want to shift towards the positive. What do they say in Star Wars? Move towards the light, or whatever it is. Don't go to the dark side. They're sort of onto something. So our enemy is not really the other person. It's our ego, or our selfishness, our desires. So all these have caused us to behave badly in the past, and they're catching up with us now. That is, we're feeling their effects now. So this is also known as something in the Buddhist world that they call the wheel of sharp weapons. Sounds very kung fu-like, the spinning wheel of sharp weapons coming back to bite us in the bum. So the wheel of sharp weapons is the negative karma we created when we harmed others in the past. It's circling back to us now, which is why we need to be careful of our actions. So in particular, not responding with anger. So over the last few weeks, we've looked at how to respond to anger when driving. I've given that example a few times. Block of wood, giving the other victory, looking at it from their perspective. They may have a good reason to cut in front of us. You know, the consequences, it's dangerous if we tailgate, that sort of thing. Now, Lama Zopa, the other co-founder of Tara Institute, he looks at anger when driving from another perspective, from karma, from the wheel of sharp weapons. So Lama Zopa gives an example that he calls, it's a mouthful, the wheel of sharp weapons of my negative karma when driving. So he says, when you're driving along in your car and suddenly some other car goes in front of your car and then you get upset, or the next car does something they're not supposed to do in front of you. When this happens, he suggests to immediately remember that this unfavourable condition is my negative karma created by my selfish mind and my ego in the past. And he further says, this is the wheel of sharp weapons, the negative karma I created when I harmed others before, circling back on me now. So basically, we need to accept the problem as it is caused by our past actions. But obviously it's karma that the two of you meet, whoever's causing you an issue. And we've all heard about accepting the problem. I mean, the world is full of suffering. So we have to accept that something is not going to go right for us, that someone is going to be angry with us sooner or later, or that we'll come across a situation that we're upset with, and that it might lead to us being angry. So the world's not perfect. It is full of suffering. So we can accept the problem. And to accept the problem is to let go, which is a profound statement and very difficult to do. Now, another monk, Mingyur Rinpoche, he also has a fantastic Instagram account. And so it's Ming, like the Ming dynasty, Mingyur, Mingyur Rinpoche. So he says, the meaning of letting go is to accept the way things are. He says, letting go is not about giving things up. You're accepting them. You are not ignoring the way things are, but you're not trying to control things. You're not suppressing, but you are observing the way things are. You don't need to suppress things, you just follow the flow of things. So he talks about sounds. I mean, we can all think of examples: loud music from a next door neighbour, being in a hotel room next to an elevator. Sometimes we can do things, we can do things too. We can knock on the door and ask the neighbour to, put down the music. But if you're next to an elevator, you can't really do much about it. He says to accept the sounds. Let the sounds come, let the sounds go. He says letting it go decreases the pain of being attached to silence. So the meaning of letting go is accepting the way things are. But that brings us to another question. What is the way things are? And from a Buddhist point of view, I think from an everything point of view, things are impermanent. They change. That car will get dented, it'll get scratched, it'll deteriorate. Your partner is sweet one day and grumpy the next. They're never 100% in a good mood, and neither are we. So we let go of the idea of permanence. We don't expect everything to be permanent and unchanging. I think I spoke one of the other weeks about there's a lot of people that get upset when society changes, when things change. And they don't like it and they get angry. They can't accept that it wasn't like back in the good old days. A romanticised notion of the good old days, which were never really always the good old days. So, you accept the shiny red car changes over time. You accept your friends and work colleagues change over time. We did the friend, enemy, stranger meditation, so people change. So Mingyur Rinpoche says that life is like the waves of the ocean, up and down, everything's up and down. Relationships are up and down, your meditation experiences are up and down, the stock market is up and down. So he says, what you're letting go is the view that things in life are permanent. Now he gives an example of your favourite cup. Now we're talking about attachment here because that's one of the things that can make us angry. If we attach to something and we lose it, we get angry. And we're trying to think, what is that thing that we're attached to? And do we have a proper understanding of what it is? So he says that having no attachment, for example, to a favourite cup doesn't mean getting a hammer and destroying the cup. It can still be your favourite cup. Just accept the cup as impermanent. So if someone breaks your favourite cup, don't be angry with them. Be angry at your own attachment. Okay. So we'll do a little meditation. It sort of illustrates emptiness as such. So get into a nice posture. So for people who are new, or for everybody, the main thing about it is that you've got your back straight. So try as much as you can, get your back straight. You can either close your eyes or just have them slightly closed, looking downwards. Relax your shoulders and Just take a quiet, deep breath or two. And so the motivation for this meditation is to gain a deeper understanding of emptiness. Okay, so now imagine you are in a boat on a river and you're enjoying the evening light and the warm breeze. You see another boat in the distance and think, it's nice that we can both be out here on such a wonderful warm evening, just at the right time to catch the light. Now the boat is coming a bit closer to you, so you wave hi, but there's no response. The boat comes even closer, so you wave hi again, thinking that the person didn't see you the first time. Again, no response from them. You can feel a little anger rising. What a jerk, what's wrong with them? Why don't they just wave hi back? But the boat keeps coming in your direction and keeps coming. You get angrier. What's this person's problem? The boat keeps coming even closer. So you're screaming, watch out, be careful, and getting angry that the idiot on the other boat hasn't changed course. The boat is dangerously close now, and you're standing up, screaming and waving your hands. Then the boat crashes into yours. You're fuming, yelling at them. But then you see that the boat is empty. There's no one in the boat. So you see a lot of empty boats in your life, your beautiful shiny car, your wonderful partner, and there's a story you've concocted behind each one, but they're all empty. They're empty of your story, just like the boat is empty of your story about the jerk in the boat. So when things happen, don't take anything personally. For example, if your partner is ignoring you or someone honks at you on the road, you don't really know what's going on. They're like the boat coming towards you and not acting the way you expect them to. But they are empty of your swirling thoughts. Nothing others do is because of you. What they say and what they do is a projection of their own reality and their own storyline and their own mental delusions. So you can put your mind back on your breath, just concentrate on your breathing. And dedicate any positive energy created in this meditation to everybody, including yourselves, being able to let go, but dedicate however you wish. When you're ready, open your eyes gently and come back into the room and have a wriggle if you need. Okay, so this is a segue into wisdom and emptiness. So the wisdom realise emptiness cuts to the core of anger. So why didn't I start with this? Why have I done all those other, across with anger with all these other little strategies? Because most of us haven't developed enough wisdom, let alone realised emptiness. And I'm talking about realising emptiness, not just an intellectual understanding of it. So until we realise emptiness, until we develop more wisdom, we use the strategies we've looked at this month. And such as, the strategies you can do immediately when you can feel that anger coming up. You can walk away. You can be the block of wood and not respond. You can give the victory to the other person, that sort of stuff. So strategies you do immediately, strategies where you can prepare yourself for anger before you get angry, because you know you're going to probably get angry. Something's going to happen and you're going to get angry sooner or later. Hopefully not, but probabilities. So you can do meditation to get into a calm state of mind, and the more you're in a calm state of mind, the less you're going to be angry, or less likely to be angry. Patience, you can work on being patient, or the old-fashioned word forbearance. You can meditate, there's meditations for that as well. Mindfulness, developing compassion for the other person and realising, hey, it's not just all about us. It's two people here. They've done something to make me angry, so what's their story? What's going on there? And also, we talked about role-playing better responses, and meditation can help us do that. We can imagine a scenario, reframe the scenario, and think of other responses, smarter responses, better responses that we can do. And if we practice those in our heads, especially if we know, like I said last week or the week before, you go to a family gathering or there's, something at work something's probably going to play out, you can prepare yourself with that by thinking about how to act, not just smarter, but how to act in a kinder way. Okay. Okay. All right, so now we're going to be looking at a deeper Buddhist perspective. So we're drilling down. The more you understand, the more you cut to the core of your anger. So it's about recognising the way things exist. And they don't exist the way we think they do. So this new perspective can weaken our anger. So Lama Zopa says we need to destroy our ego. Because that's usually why we get angry. Someone knocks us, our ego, someone cuts in front of us, our ego, and we get angry. It's our self-cherishing thoughts. So we need to let go of the whole me thing, which is hard as our whole life has been about us. And we've been looking at our own point of view forever, because that's easier to do. We know our own point of view, so we're so used to us. We've got to shift out of that groove. Our enemy is not the other person. Our enemy is our ego, our selfishness, our desires. That's the enemy. So Lama Zopa says, it might seem that being criticised is a cause for your anger, but if that were so, then anybody who ever received criticism would have to get angry. And that's not so. The cause is our own delusions. And we know ourselves that different people react differently to being criticised. Some people will get angry, some people will laugh it off. Not everyone does get angry when they're criticised. So it's not that person, it's the way, it's about your delusions. Geshe Doga says, don't get angry. He doesn't say get even. So don't get angry. Instead, think of the emptiness of the person. That is, they still exist. They still did that harm to you. They still did that thing to you. But they are empty of your projections and your storyline. That's the bit he wants you to think about. And you are also empty. You, of course, exist, but you are empty of your own projections and storylines. It's like an example that was given to me once about emptiness, and But I'll say another bit. I was in Singapore listening to a teaching, going to teachings, and I saw someone else who was going on the train station, and we walked together to the place. And he was talking about emptiness and how everything's empty, and then I said, "Oh, what about if I punch you? Is that empty?" I guess things didn't exist. That's right. He was saying things don't exist. I'm going, "What if I punch you?" And then he goes, "Well, that doesn't exist." But then he says, "But then don't punch me." I mean, maybe that was the wrong example to give. Basically, if someone punches you, that punch is real. It exists, okay? But it's empty of the story that you and the narrative you give around it. Okay. So you can do something about that punch. You can deflect it, but you don't need to be angry about it. Okay. So this is a meditation. It's a classic Buddhist analytical meditation on trying to find the I that gets angry. Okay, so that book I've been talking about, I remember thinking I wouldn't have enough to talk about for anger for 4 weeks, but I've had more than enough info. But she wrote a whole book about it, Working with Anger, which I've shown you before. And so I've got a meditation here from her. But it's a classic meditation. I think Kathleen McDonald also has a similar one, but she's got it a little bit with anger. Again, finding the comfortable position with a straight back. Eyes down. Relax the shoulders and the jaw line. And relax the storyline. Take a deep breath. So again, we usually look at our motivation before we meditate. So why are you here meditating? Maybe your motivation is to become enlightened for the sake of all beings, which is a nice general motivation. Or maybe the motivation could be to understand emptiness better so I can not be so angry. So another couple of quiet, deep, slow breaths. Think of a situation where you were angry because somebody betrayed your trust or they hurt your feelings. Feel a strong sense of self. I am hurt. There's a solid I that is hurt and angry. I am angry. So try to feel that I. So ask yourself, who is this I that hurts so much? Who is this I that has been disrespected? Try to find the I, the person who is feeling these strong emotions. If such a solid, concrete I exists, we should be able to find it. So keep looking for it. Am I my body? Am I my mind? Am I totally separate from my body and mind? Is your I a creation of your mind? Or is it something that exists concretely and independently? Is the I in your head, in your eyes, in your heart, in your hands? Keep searching for it. You can circle back to I am hurt, I am angry. Is that I in your head, in your heart? After this searching for the I, do you notice any change? Does it feel as solid and real as it did before? Or is it a bit more nebulous? Now put your mind back on the breath. Rejoice that we've done this meditation and dedicate any positive energy we've created. For example, may everyone, including myself, create the causes to understand emptiness quickly so we can overcome anger completely. Or maybe a shorter dedication, the enlightenment of all beings, including myself. Okay, open your eyes and mentally come back in the room. Have a wriggle if you need. Okay. So, it's about our identity and what it is. So we think it's a concrete thing, an independent thing. So some people base their identity on external things, maybe the type of house or car or the clothes they wear, They base their identity on all these things. Others identify themselves with their job. And if they lose their job, they don't know who they are. I am a lawyer, I am a teacher, I am a manager. Not anymore, so they don't really know who they are anymore because they've based their whole identity on their job. So who am I? Who are you? We exist, but we don't exist independently. We exist because of others. We exist because of everything in the past that has led us up to this point. We not only have a false view of how we and others exist, but also a false view of situations. Our whole life is built on false appearances, which leads to problems. So our anger is fueled by ignorance. We don't see reality clearly because we're looking at things through our own mental delusions. We're selfish, we have attachment, we're greedy, we're angry. For example, a simple example, someone at a sale gets to those discounted pair of boots first. We desire them, we didn't get them, so we get angry. We've been waiting in line for ages to get through those doors. So we're looking at this situation through selfish coloured lenses, which means it's not accurate. Now, Venerable Robina, another nun I quote a lot, she's spoken about anger a lot. She's talked in prisons where there's a lot of angry people, so she knows a lot about anger. The extent to which our minds are caught up in attachment and anger is the extent to which we are not in touch with reality. So basically, when we're angry or have attachments, we're caught up in a fantasy, our own little dramatic unreality show. So anger, I think as I said in the first week, distorts things. It's a distorted assessment. We can't think clearly. It's a misreading of reality. We exaggerate the negative, and as Lama Zopa puts it, decorate on top of what is already there. Now, another great Lama, Pabonka Rinpoche, says, even if you don't know what emptiness means, just think, maybe things don't exist the way they appear. And somebody asked the Dalai Lama, how do you apply emptiness in daily life? And he said, that's easy. Look at things from another point of view. So it's about moving away from your own narrow perspective of things. I think this is the whole thing about anger. And then we looked at the other person, what their story is, what's going on. We can ask them, we can talk to them, we don't need to fly off the handle. So from our own narrow perspective to thinking about from our story to their story, and also thinking about their mental delusions, because they're overpowered by them. They sometimes don't have a choice in the way they act. And then we can think of the perspective of karma. That gives us another more broader perspective of what's going on. And then from emptiness and understanding as much as we can that things don't exist the way we think they do. They're empty of our projections. So there may be another story other than what we're imagining. Most likely there is, because it's difficult to see things clearly when we're projecting our own stuff. That's why in a car accident, different witnesses say different things. They see things differently. So I was going to have a quick look at, before I sum up, a look at most of the questions about anger. So if people are getting angry, if you get angry, a good thing to do is look at the cause of your anger rather than what the other person did to me. Look to yourself and think, why am I angry? Not why, I mean, you can obviously investigate why the other person is doing something, but you can also investigate why you're angry. So look at the cause of why you're angry. Is it a broken attachment? Is it someone stood in the way of what we wanted, of our desires and or expectation? Maybe we expected a promotion and didn't get it, so we're angry. But if we realise that we shouldn't be attached to that promotion, and also we understand that things will not always go our way, we can't expect that things will always go our way. So look at the cause. Look at the situation in the context of what the Buddha says, that the world is full of suffering. War happens, car accidents happen. So, for example, my attachment to the car, is my attachment to the car or expectations realistic in this world of suffering? So understanding that may relieve the anger. Because a lot of the times we're not realistic about our expectations. So you look at the cause, you look at the situation, that we should expect that there'll be suffering. We can go through the strategies that could apply. Walk away, block of wood. I think we've talked about this before. Prepare ahead, developing patience, mindfulness. We can meditate. Interestingly enough, Rosie Batty, she had already developed compassion for her partner. She understood that this was the woman who's, I'm sure you're aware of it, she was Australian of the Year. Her partner killed her son in front of her in a public place, and she knew that her partner had mental issues. And she chose to act from compassion to help others. She worked so hard to change the situation. Even tonight on the news, I heard that the man who did the stabbings in the mall, that he got lost and he got through the mental health system, somehow fell through the cracks and things happened that shouldn't. So you can change those things or work towards changing those things. I mean, like before when I said you can accept that things happen, but that doesn't mean you can't work towards change. And the example that Rabina gave that I spoke about last week of the man kicking the dog. So you can concentrate on helping the dog rather than focusing on being angry with the man. Focus on helping. So that's the compassion side of it. Okay, look at the cause, suffering, it's going to happen. Go through strategies. Think of the karma. It's not just a random act. We may possibly have had a hand in it in the past and the wheel of sharp weapons has come back. So if your car, I've said this to my brother, if there's a car, he loves his cars, and he's got this beautiful little golf buggy. He lives near the course and they have, down near Patterson Lake somewhere, he's got this beautiful gold and white golf buggy that he drives around on the streets. And if he gets a scratch on it, I say, well, he was a bit of a tearaway in his youth. And I said, you're probably a vandal in the past and it's come back. It's come back and you've got a scratch on your car. So that's karma, baby. So, and then again, emptiness, which I've just spoken about for another perspective. I've only touched on emptiness, so if you see a book on emptiness, or if you see something on YouTube, Lama Zopa and emptiness or something, have a listen. It's a really fascinating topic, and it really shakes about concrete ideas that you have All right, now what I'll do is I'll just sum up. So that's it. So there's a lot that I've covered over the month. So the final thoughts from this month, the top 5 takeaways are that, so I'll just sum up really. Well, I can't sum up actually, I had 10 points when I summed up, so I wanted to get the top 5. So anger can arise in a flash. And from that moment, you are not in full control and you will make stupid decisions. So don't think of anger as a friend. Anger is your enemy. There are strategies for anger that you can do immediately, which we've spoken about. Walk away, a block of wood, give the victory to the other. And there are strategies where you can prepare yourself for anger. The best thing, I think, is to meditate. And I forgot to talk to you about your meditation practice, but so you can prepare yourself for anger. Our anger rises from within. Because we said before, 2 different people can have 2 different responses to someone from being criticised by the same person. So it comes from your ego. When you get angry, think about why. Okay. Developing compassion. I spoke about the man kicking the dog. Concentrate on helping the dog rather than being angry with the man, but have compassion for the man because mental delusions have overpowered him. I mean, we've all been in that situation where something could maybe overpower us and we've done something we're not proud of. We've hurt the other person, we've criticised someone and made them angry. So we've done it ourselves. And the last one, the 5th one, we have a narrative, we have a storyline where we think we know 100% why the other person is behaving the way they do. And we think that we know what's going on, but we don't. Our anger is based on an unreal assessment of the situation, so we want to get to the bottom of it. But if nothing else, don't grab tightly onto your version of events. Look at things from another point of view and tame that ego. So let's just close our eyes for a moment to rejoice coming here for the last month and just dedicate. So you've made the effort to come here and do something positive instead of watching Netflix or scrolling through and watching, or trying to watch something. And dedicate any positive energy. Okay, look, thank you very much for your patience and your attention over the last month. You've been great. Thanks for the encouragement that you've given me. And I hope I've talked about some useful things that you can think about. So I guess, oh yeah, we've got time for questions. Yeah?
You were talking about emptiness and the emptiness over there with the other person, like there.
On the boat?
Yeah, I think so, but it was after that. It was around your friend talking about nothing exists and you give a punch.
Oh.
That kind of conversation, you were saying something about with the other person, there's nothing there. There's nothing there for herself, or something like that.
Yeah, I haven't got it written down here because it was just something I thought about when I was talking. But it's like when I remember when I first heard about emptiness and people were talking about how nothing exists. And I think the point that I was trying to make was that things actually do exist, but we project a storyline on top of something else. And so I think with the punch, that was just my smart-ass way of, just trying to say, well, things do exist. If I punch you, that exists, you hurt. But I guess it's all about the response and the storyline about what this violent person is doing. And the strategy will obviously always run away in a fight. You don't want to get angry and keep going. One, because you don't want to put yourself in danger, and two, because you just don't want to get angry. So, is that sort of what you meant? Or?
I think so, yeah. It was just a little bit. I understood like that whatever's going on, that when I get angry,
Yep.
and something in the other person I perceive as causing that.
Yep. Yep.
Like I get. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. So you think it's someone criticises you, or just use that a non-violent example, physical violent example. Someone criticises you, and you think, well, you're the problem because you're criticising me. I am angry at you, but I'm looking outward. I've got to look inward. I mean, it takes two to tango. I've got to look inward and find out, why am I angry? Am I oversensitive? Am I attached to my own reputation? My own ego is getting involved in this. Am I expecting the other person not to criticise me? I thought they were a friend in the workplace and they're criticising something I've done. Is it like an expectation that has been unmet? You know, I expect them to behave differently. Am I getting angry because of that? So, again, two different people being criticised by the same person may very well respond differently. And as Rabina said, the extent of I know she was talking about unreality, but still the extent of your mental delusions and they think of attachment as a mental delusion and that. And so the extent of that will determine the extent of how offended you'll be by that criticism. Does that? Your ego, your own reputation, for example. The more you're attached to your reputation and that person's criticising you, the more you'll be angry about that. If you can lessen your attachment, then you won't be so angry. That was the point I was trying to make.
So what happens if, in fact, part of what they're saying is true?
Yeah,
Someone says,
yeah.
you've got green hair, and I just think, really? You need to get your eyes checked. If they say, you're sometimes sarcastic, I think, there was no need to mention that, you know.
Well,
It's true.
if you've got a calm mind, like if you've meditated a bit and you're a bit calm, you can probably think, you know how they say it, if it's true, take it on board and work with it. If it's not true, you don't worry about it, but you can correct them, especially if it's in public. You can calmly correct them. And that's the other thing. If you're angry and trying to correct someone, no one's going to take you seriously. But if you're calm and you correct them, and if it's true, then yeah, take it on board. But you can only really take it on board if you're a bit more calm about it. And you're not offended. Like, I mean, it might be true, but your ego might still be upset.
True. I think my response would be thank you for noticing, which of course is sarcastic.
I know, it's really tempting. I used to be very sarcastic and I had a bit of a talent for it, but 20 years or so in Buddhism has like dulled me a little bit. But that's a good thing, right? It's a good thing, but it's a journey. It's a journey. And the things that we think are funny and smart and cutting edge and, yeah, I got you and all that, it's sort of like, we don't really want our lives to be on that level, do we? We sort of want to rise above that. There is another way of engaging with the world, of experiencing the world, and it doesn't have to be that petty. Even though, sure, it can be funny, but we don't want to dwell in that world. Well, next week, let me just check who it is. I think it's Ash. For all the Mondays of May, Ashvini, he'll be doing a deep dive into meditation. So I was going to have a chat with you about meditating, which actually I've got a few minutes. Has anyone sort of tried to meditate over the last month at all? Great. Does anyone want to talk about their experience? Or any questions about their practice? Can anyone tell me why you meditated this week?
I meditated this week just to kind of really deal with my anger, deal with my upset, like my internal dialogue and anger. I find when I meditate regularly, it gives me a bit of space between my emotions and gives me like a split second to make a choice instead of just react.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm going to go back on YouTube and write that one down if I talk about anger again. So that's a perfect example of meditation helping, and also pre-preparing you for something and creating that space. You want that space. That's why they say count to 10, you know, or don't respond, be the block of wood. Yeah. Yep. That's a beautiful way of putting it, actually. They talk about forest bathing, you know. I mean, like, I don't think people go out and walk in the forest anymore. They're all on these things. So, but yeah, like, so that's a nice way of thinking about it. Okay, so, yeah.
I meditate to hold my emotions, particularly difficult ones, so that they can be heard and then they can dissipate and sort of relax and
Dissipate a bit, that's great. Yeah, the negative emotions you want to dissipate, and that's with the anger as well. We're sort of trying to make it dissipate and not sort of hang on to it so much. So next week, actually for the all of May, so Ash is going to be doing a deep dive into meditation, and it will be fabulous, and I wish I'd thought of it. I mean, you will become a bit animated now when we talked about meditation, so I think that will be a fantastic month to come to. So maybe try to meditate each day before then, so you can get more out of his talks, and then you can have questions as well. If you've got any questions about how to get started, or I think most of you have, but to keep going, and tricks and tips, you know, to continue and have a stronger practice. So just very quickly, just a couple of announcements. So this Saturday, obviously it's election day, but try to maybe do early voting, but there's the giant 21 Taras painting that Tara Institute has. It's like 15 metres tall. It's gigantic. If you haven't seen it, you simply must. It's incredible. It's a painting like that, but it's huge, like tall. There's a sign on the notice board, but it's at the Melbourne Town Hall from 10 to 5. It's part of VSAC, so a lot of other Buddhist organisations will be there. From Thailand, from India, from the communities in Melbourne, and they have a procession at 1 o'clock from the Parliament House Gardens, where there's kids dressed up in the national costume, adults in the national costume. There's drums and banners and all sorts of things. So if you do go to you can actually join Tara Institute in the procession if you want. We'll have a banner, so you can, or you can just watch it, and. Yeah, so that's on from 10 to 5, Melbourne Town Hall. Just come and have a look at it, free entry. I was also going to say Tara Institute is on Instagram, so have a look. We've got what's going on is there, as well as the notice board, the newsletter, website, Facebook, and also, I talk about it all the time, but Monday night book. Like I said, there's a whole heap of teachings, a whole heap of stuff in the teachings that all the Monday night presenters talk about, and so sometimes it's good to flick back over them and just to have a look. And there's stuff on anger in here, there's stuff on compassion, there's stuff, Jeremy's in here, so yeah, he talks about a lot of, they all talk about great things. Anyway, and I think the bookshop's open. I saw Carla, so you can have a look, not just to get this, you can just have a look anyway for replenish your incense stock. Come in the dining room for a chat. I'll be there. There's tea. I don't know if there's biscuits or something. Cake or something. Anyway, so thank you so much. You've been great. Thank you.
Thank you.